I recently played Gotham Knights, and far be it from me to beat the dead horse of saying this game is bad, but the game is not great. I wanted so bad for it to be good though. Batman fans tend to fall into two camps. One that prefers Batman to be by his lonesome, and one that prefers him to be with Robin. I fall into a secret third camp, where Batman I can kinda take or leave, but the Bat family I absolutely adore. Especially stories about them having to step up to take up the mantle. One of my favorite runs was the Grant Morrison Batman and Robin, where Dick Grayson had to take up the mantle of the Caped Crusader, and had to deal with all the pressure and self-doubt that came with trying to fill the shoes that don't quite feel right, but were always meant for you. So I was primed and ready to love this game. I thought maybe if you stripped away some of the baggage, the stuff about the absurd loot system, and some of the cringy Marvel dialogue, and really give it a chance, it would be something really worthwhile. And it's not really. It's impossible to not compare this to the excellent Arkham trilogy, but it feels like they were going for something more akin to Marvel's Spider-Man. You can really see this in the way they incorporated the stealth and more straight-up fighting sections. In Batman, these are hard lines, as an enemy with a gun could rip Batman apart in just a few seconds, making stealth a necessity to get through a section. In Spider-Man and Gotham Knights like it, stealth is more situational. Often it's an optional challenge or part of the plot to save a hostage or something like that. But there are no combat barriers between the player and any enemy type that would compel you to tackle them in a more stealthy manner. See, I think where the game really screws up is quite simple. The game at its core is fine. The traversal could be snappier, much snappier. You can cut out the crafting entirely and lose absolutely nothing, but ultimately the suit that killed it was the one who demanded the way the multiple protagonists were handled. This was something that was definitely a suit decision rather than a creative one. The fact that you can play as any hero for any mission is a nice thing to put on the box. It's a nice idea if handled properly. It could be something that was really neat even. But in a world where you're going for a narrative-driven game, the likes of Marvel Spider-Man, it puts you in a difficult corner. You have to either write the game so that every mission played by any hero branches off into any hero being used in the next mission, or write the game in such a way where every mission played by any hero continues into any hero being used in the next mission. The plot of this game is fine. In the wake of Batman's death, two secret societies wage war over control of Gotham. Our heroes stop it. That's just fine, but the game doesn't have any emotional core. What do I mean by that? Each hero operates in complete lockstep with the others. There's no tension between them, and no character is able to properly be affected by any event in the game because the game has to account for them not being there. The game even screws this up internally, as there are certain points where if you change characters before continuing the story, the character you change to will talk about events as if they were the ones who experienced it.
Thinking about what happened at Blackgate, Ms. Gordon?
Can't believe I let Harley play me. She got away, and who knows what else she has up her sleeve.
I did that Harley mission as Red Hood, and now I cannot find the footage at all. You'll just have to take my word for it. In addition, with two exceptions, no character interacts in person with anyone else except for within the clock tower. There's a co-op mode, but if you play single player, there are no missions in the game where multiple heroes work together. Again, except for within the clock tower. You don't play as four heroes, you play as one Frankenstein's monster of Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Hood, and Robin. Each character does have their own little plotline that takes place almost exclusively in the clock tower. The plotlines all amount to the same thing. The character reflects on their sadness over Batman's death. They all receive the same speech about what Bruce would have wanted from them. This comes off insanely manipulative, by the way. Then they have a chapter or two about their specific insecurities, then they decide to keep being a hero anyway. I would switch off of each character per mission, trying to find some secret sauce that would get each character into stuff that would fit them specifically. Eventually, I realized that no matter what I did, Robin always had the highest number, so I just stuck with him. I don't even think it would have been difficult to pull off each character having their own pathway. You just have to create tension between the characters as a result of Batman's death. The stories are all there. It wouldn't even be that hard. Every character had their own issues, even with Batman, that you could have played with. Part of Dick's story is that he quits being Robin and walks away from Bruce to forge his own identity. Maybe Dick has only recently started to repair his relationship with Bruce, only to have all that ripped away and be forced into the leadership role. Maybe Jason hadn't even gotten back on good terms with Bruce at the start, and is on the outs from the group as a whole. You could reintroduce him partway in, even having an antagonistic role with Dick with their history, begrudgingly working together towards the shared goal of cleaning up after Batman's death. Dick seeing Jason as Batman's attempt to replace him as a son, Jason seeing Dick as the older son he could never live up to. See, Bruce Wayne wasn't the most well-adjusted guy, so we can buy into the idea that the first few Robins didn't walk away without some serious emotional scarring. Barbara's angle is fine, as she doesn't have her view of herself tied into Bruce as much as the others did, and worked on her own more than within the group. Hey, there's something though. Dick and Barbara dated at some point. Maybe, while Dick was on the outs with Batman, Barbara and Jason developed their own close but platonic relationship, creating even more tension between all three of them. Maybe Tim is new, like real new, and he had only just been deemed street ready by Batman, and has little experience working even with him, let alone by himself. So Nightwing and Batgirl don't know what to do with him, and they delegate him what they see as busy work. He could be the one who worked with the Watch and either uncovers helpful information that Dick and Barbara hadn't even considered, or maybe he could go off on his own and bite off more than he can chew in a foolish attempt to prove himself. Dick and Barbara have to bail him out, leading to even more tension and resentment. Maybe Jason then comes in and mentors Tim, maybe shows more trust in him than Dick and Barbara do, and bring him along on outings that Dick denied him, building something of a Batman and Robin relationship between those two. Maybe Tim is even the one who pushed Jason out of his lethal methods, showing that Tim has humanized Jason a little and inadvertently proved his point, that Batman needs a Robin to stop him from going overboard. Now, my point here is not to write Batman fanfiction. My point is nothing I laid out is exactly groundbreaking stuff from a storytelling perspective, but what Gotham Knights does instead of that is nothing. Or at least it's so juvenile that it's embarrassing.
It's not stupid. You died. It's okay to not be okay with that.
Wow, what a brave mental health issue to tackle. Spider-Man is all about these dynamics. The whole first act you hardly see any supervillains. It's all just Peter struggling to keep his life together. The two best scenes that encapsulate Peter as a character is the first scene where he's pumped up to take down Fisk and then gets an eviction notice. The next is when he swings around while texting MJ. It's because Spider-Man is less about punching villains, although that's a big part of it, and more about stuff like this that establishes why Peter is a hero, rather than that he is a hero. In Gotham Knights, you don't really get to see any insight into any of them, because none of them act as the emotional core of the game. Probably should have been Tim, but they had to have the gimmick of playing as anyone you wanted for any part. I actually went back and played Grand Theft Auto 5, and it's ironically a perfect example of what Gotham Knights should have gone for. Even the character dynamics kind of match. You got the older wise guy, his young up-and-coming partner, the antagonistic edgy guy, and well, it's not to say that Barbara had to be Oracle, but she still fulfills the role of a tech person. Imagining a better game, I can kind of see a mission-based open-world structure where each character may start out on their own, or even just working toward their own goals in addition to the main goal of stopping the Court of Owls and League of Shadows. Maybe Jason comes in more willing to go to the seedier parts of Gotham. Tim would be doing the Watch stuff, Barbara could have recon missions based on her tech and work with Montoya. Nightwing could do some Bruce Wayne-style schmoozing. There's even a mission perfect for this. You could have had Dick walking around the party while someone else was suited up, patrolling the outside. Could have been a fun, interesting co-op mission or something. I think the whole point here is that you shouldn't try to pigeonhole yourself like this. If you try something and don't feel like it's working, don't be afraid to go back to the drawing board. When I say that the decision to make every mission playable by any character was a suit decision, I don't know that for sure. It just doesn't feel like the type of decision that a person invested in the quality of the product would make. At the end of the day, Spider-Man 2 is coming out this week and it better have fun, interesting stuff from both Miles and Peter that makes sense for their respective characters, goddammit. Also, thanks for watching.